New report, China cuts pilot training time, aims to modernize by 2030. Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Yep.
China is cutting down on the time it takes to train raw students, which is, street to sea, basically transitioning to a full fleet of fourth generation training aircraft, but won't have a fully modernized pilot training system until 2030, according to the Air University's China Aerospace Studies Institute. In the paper, Derek Solon cited new developments in pilot training divulged by China in the last few months. They have 3 training centers for the PLAAF, completed and replaced older training program aircraft using it, referring to the third generation fighter equivalent to the MiG-21.
Wow.
They're establishing new units to train recent graduates to transition to fighter aircraft, shifting the burden of training from combat units to academies. Soren told Air and Space Forces magazine, China's pilot training academies have been consolidated from 6 to 3 over the last decade. Wow. A further year could be cut from the curriculum because of the success of the Hongdu JL-10 trainer, a derivative of the Yak-130 fly-by-wire glass cockpit. Educated estimate, they're producing 400 pilots a year, and that number is increasing. By comparison, the U.S. Air Force is producing 1,350, which is short of our goal for 1,800 to 2,000.
Wow.
And that's the bottleneck. Scroll down, please. Noted in his analysis that it doesn't have service academies or generic officer training schools. Rather, after 3 years of officer training and education, students begin primary flight training. They begin that school after a 4th year, after which they do a year of intermediate training, followed by a year of advanced training. Those that graduate go into a year of specific instruction. Jesus.
Wow.
Dude, that's a long time, man.
That's a long pipeline.
Wow. And then, although only flight instructors have been mentioned training in the J-10, it's likely that the Academy will begin conducting transition training for new pilots in autumn of 2020 or 2024. Gonky,
wow.
Your thoughts?
So did they were making 400 pilots a year? Is that what that article said?
Yeah.
I can't. To me, that's incredible because the size, the number of pilots I thought it would be comparable to the number of pilots that the U.S. is putting out.
Or more.
Or more, exactly. Given the ratio of people to, planes and whatnot. So it kind of makes me happy though that we're not the only ones in the struggle bus right now, and they are. They suffer from some of the same issues that that we do here in the States. Yeah, man. I don't know. What do you think?
It goes back to Wombat's thing about the ultimate conspiracy theory is that they copy us, and that was our plan, was for us to be so terrible that they copy the terribleness, and then that just works, which he mentioned last week as a joke. But no, this thing, 400 pilots is not a lot, but it is amazing that it takes 4 years to get them to that place. And I wonder how that would, translate to what we do. Like if we had to give people 4 years, would you get a better product out of it? Or would you get more opportunities to wash people out through the process? And that's why they only end up producing 400 because, you got 4 years to basically, you can't cut it. Let's go somewhere else. You can't cut it. Let's go somewhere else.
Well, they, some of the training they do towards the end is in the J-10, right? That's what it said, which is an operational fighter. So I guess in my mind,
the JL-10, it's the Yak. That article was talking about their trainer, the Yak equivalent.
Yeah, that's a long time to be in training. But then again, we don't know the details, right? Of is it taking that long?
Like Navy training, where you just kind of show up and figure it out?
Well, is it taking that long because they're struggling, or is it taking that, or is it like 4,000 sorties per syllabus? I mean, like, so without that data, it's kind of hard to figure out. But more to the point, and Tim Davies talked about that they're having the same issue in England, right? It just takes way, way too long to train, which I think is detrimental, like morale wise for people. And then I'm sure career wise too. I mean, how do you plan anything?
China cares about morale, but
no, you're right. They don't. Well, yeah, no, they probably don't. You're right. It's like, you're just lucky to be here. Valid.
Yeah, you're lucky. But
There's some details missing, but it is eye-opening that the pipeline is literally years
right.
and it's only 400 because dude, that is a 3 or 4 year footprint and you're only getting 400 and for a country, not to pick on country size. A country the size of China, you know, with the kind of vision and aspiration they have for their military. I'm really surprised that it's that low, which tells me there's some real inefficiencies somewhere along the line. There's something that's missing.
Yeah, and I think our problem is very similar in that when you try to reinvent the wheel, you end up creating bottlenecks. You know, if you've got a tried and true method, right, that works, and you're producing X number of pilots per year, and you try to make it more efficient, sometimes you reach the limit of efficiency. You reach the end of what you can do, and you start going backwards. And sometimes it's not your fault. I mean, China doesn't have the same problems we have. China can take a trainer and say, that's our trainer, you know, deal with it. We have, you know, we have to go bid it out. We have to figure out, it's got to be, some parts have to be sourced here. We have put all the restrictions on ourselves in how we create the pipeline and the trainers and what aircraft we use and contractors and all that stuff. But it's still a problem. And also, we can't tell you, hey, you're a fighter pilot, you're going through the pipeline, versus China. They can go, hey, dude, you're in. Good luck.
Plus, I would also argue, and I would bet that part of the issues they're having is, man, if you go back 20 years,
yeah,
like their frontline stuff has developed like rapidly. And so, you know, maybe, you know, kind of like the T-38, right? Like it's the T-38 was designed to train guys to fly the Century Series fighters, right? So like maybe the issue is the old training program didn't advance as fast as like the frontline stuff and the numbers of frontline stuff. And it's like, oh crap, the bottom, you know, hey, it's just because the systems that we had in place 20 years ago, 15 years ago aren't good enough for what we're doing today, which, I mean, that's
valid. I mean, that makes sense is if you come up with one thing and say, we're just going to use this forever, we're not going to change with the times, then yeah, T-38 works today, right? Because if you say it doesn't matter and, you know, we can live without a T-7 or whatever, then, you know, then you're kicking the can down the road to the B course has to fix it, or the squadron has to fix it, which we've seen mishaps like that.
Yeah, exactly. And the training command is always going to be kind of reactionary, right? To the fleet. So, I mean, so that inherently, even if you're a communist country, is going to have a yo-yo effect. You know? I mean, I don't know. It's like I said, it's kind of nice to see like we're not alone.
It's not just us with problems. And you're right, 400 people versus, but I wonder what that number entails. You know, I mean, is it because it's 4 years?
I want to know what the front end number is. Like, okay, like there's 5,000,
30,000 people join and 400 get out alive. Like what happens? Jeez.
It's like an island and there's only going to be 400 of you that make it.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Anyway,